You're about to see something extraordinary and revolutionary, and it's the grave section of Beethoven's famous Piano Sonata number 8, Opus 13, commonly known as the Pathétique Sonata. In exactly the rhythmic notation that Beethoven used. You will never hear that. And that's due to a misinterpretation of metronome markings by 19th century composers. So Carl Czerny, who knew Beethoven, assigned a metronome marking for this part of this movement of this sonata of 8th note equals 46. Sounds like this. The problem is the way we currently interpret a metronome marking like that. Bits of fiddly notation like this become literally unplayable. And this. And also they don't make much sense. So in the 19th century, we need to be aware that European composers intended both clicks of the metronome to equal the note value that they're talking about. In other words, oh, hold on, I have a metronome, I'll show you. Here, that's my metronome ticking at 46. You may notice some wobbliness. The ticks there and back aren't exactly even. So if that wobbliness is the case with the 1990s metronome, you can imagine it's much more so for a 19th century metronome, which would have had much looser tolerances in manufacture. So only the ticks in either direction are even, like boop, boop. You have to measure the there and back to get an even time, depending on how well regulated the metronome is. But that's one reason that these 19th century composers, used the there and back to equal the note value that they talked about. And virtually no one in modern performance circles recognizes that. So they're all trying to play this music twice as fast as it should go, and which is pretty feasible for this slow movement. You can play it twice as fast. But for the fast stuff, no, you can't. Or maybe 1 in a million could, but it doesn't make much sense to think that Beethoven was writing for the best of 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 the best 200 years in the future, or whatever it is. I haven't done the math. Anyway, so a couple things really started to make sense when I did this exercise. First is the title, grave. So I've experimented with this idea with fast works before, like Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, which I have a recording of on my TikTok. Maybe this is TikTok, I don't know where I'm gonna post this. But that recording did very well. But one of the things I've been saying is that when people play music too fast, it loses its gravity. And when I played this opening to the Pathétique Sonata in Beethoven's tempo, or actually it's Czerny's tempo, who was intimately familiar with the way Beethoven played. When I played in that tempo, all of a sudden, I truly felt the gravity of the work. And the other thing that began to make sense to me is that, these beams are meticulously planned out and organized to fit in the bar. Like these. I mean, this is complex rhythm, and trying to play it at 2x speed, all of that meticulousness is lost. I mean, is it German composer? I mean, think of the tightness in like a Porsche. I mean, Beethoven was the Porsche of 19th century Germanic Austrian composers. I suppose maybe he hadn't moved to Austria by the time he wrote this. I'm not sure. Playing it in this tempo made it easy for me to see the line from Beethoven to later Germanic composers like Wagner and Mahler. The harmonies are cool. So I'm going to make some apologies. This performance isn't what I would do at a recital. For one thing, I've got the metronome going. I haven't practiced this. This is my first time experimenting with this tempo regime in my own playing. So I've got my metronome ticking. I've also got laundry in the garage happening, and I've also got my car detailer working on my car. Nevertheless, enjoy this performance of the graves section of Beethoven's Pathétique Sonata. The other thing is, people will complain that this is unlistenable because it's so slow. Some people will complain, probably not you, because you're probably smart and have common sense. But people who have been to music school will complain that this is unlistenable because it's so plodding and slow. It's only 3 minutes. 3.5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, I don't know. But my point is, that's not that long. I think modern conservatory circles treat this music as if it's supposed to fit like a sitcom niche in historical context. But no, this is an hour drama. You know what I mean? And this is the opening introduction for a weighty gravity grave. So three or 4 minutes for this introduction, it makes perfect sense. The dynamics aren't great. Like I said, I've spent about an hour with this morning. It deserves more time than that, but this is just a trial run, and a friend had asked about this part of this piece, how to play it, and the thing is, it's too hard to play for someone who's not, a professional spending all their time doing music. But when you put it in the right tempo, in the right historical context, it starts to make sense. I don't know, I may actually put the recording at the beginning of this video and then me talking about it, because this is probably boring, but it shouldn't be boring. I mean, like I said, this is fascinating and revolutionary, and we complain about people's attention spans, but then we demean them by bombarding them with velocity where all the meaning is removed. I think people are hungry for meaning. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I did. Playing this music this way was truly ear-opening.